It's kind of girly beer, but whatever.
It's all right. We know you're not a girl.
I put a koozie on it. Nobody knows what it is.
That's right. All right, here we go.
Did you know that?
Go ahead.
Did you know it's been proven that there's female hormones in beer?
Well, then that explains these little boobs that I got.
Yeah. You drink 6, 8, 10, 12 of them.
It's all making sense now.
That's why when you drink a bunch of them, you quit making sense and can't drive.
You know, the good thing about me saying that is I'm the one that edits these videos, so you ain't never seeing that. You ain't never seen that.
I got these boobies.
All right, here we go. The people on the live stream saw it, but that's okay. All right.
Movies.
Welcome into the Bite Me podcast. Man, we got who wants to have some fun? Who wants to have some fun today? We got a lot of fun topics, good topics from our listeners. A little update we'll start with. Little rain here and there. It seems like it might be raining all week, but of course, I'm sure our captains are going to have something to say about that. I am John Lopez, Captain Dean Thomas, Captain Scott Knoll, Captain Caleb McCumber. The gang is all here, and we're ready for the podcast. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcast. Got to say that. Podbean, iTunes, Spotify are my top 3, but anywhere you get your podcast. And, of course, the group page where we got almost all the topics this week from listeners texting me, DMing one of the captains or myself. And let's get started. Let's get started with what we were just talking about off air. Not what female hormones are in beer, but let's talk about what we were talking about with the rain. It's been raining. It's raining right now as we record this live on YouTube here on StreamYard. Supposed to rain all week long. Is that going to mean anything? Is that going to mean anything, Caleb? Let me start with you. You look like you're chomping at the bit. You're ready to go on this podcast.
Man, it's not even damp at my house. It is. Every one of them has went around me. I hope this. I was talking to somebody about that this morning, that the rivers are starting to finally green up and get a little bit salty. I am hoping that it stays just this scattered summertime stuff instead of a big old rain somewhere, because right now that deep water of those rivers is about the only time I get to go have fun.
Yeah.
But from what I've seen, I don't think so. Dean keeps ringing in my head that some rain will cool off the water and hopefully make the fishing a little bit better. Ashworth fished yesterday. He said they had a big squall line come through.
Mm-hmm.
Took about an hour to blow through, and then it was blue skies the rest of the day. So I don't think it makes a big difference, and unless it just stacks up and really goes to pouring.
Yeah, well, Dean, he mentioned your name, so let me go to you. And this is what my son and I were talking about yesterday. I went to go see my granddaughter, and he actually caught some fish in Aransas Pass over the weekend. He was at my place over the weekend, caught, I want to say, good 8-10 trout and redfish. But let's what I told him, Dean, is even just 2 degrees. If we can just get that water temp down 1 or 2 degrees, it might make a difference. Or am I full of crap?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the last 2 days I fished before I made my road trip back up here to H-Town. Mm-hmm. Our water temperature was 85 degrees. So it had definitely dropped, and it was cloudcast completely both days. The second day, right before I left, we actually got ran off the water by some thunderstorms. I mean, fish were shallow. There were reds in the grass, blowing up on top waters. So, and I'm going to be back at it. After I wrap this up, I'm headed back south, and I'll be fishing all through the holiday weekend. So, and I don't know, dude, everybody gets the forecast full of drama, as if we haven't covered that topic here once or twice.
Yeah.
But it's sitting here, so we bring up that conversation, man, it's coming your way, blah blah. Not a drop in Aransas Pass. Very, very spotty down south. And I go look at the forecast for Aransas Pass. Man, they got this thing peaked out with this crazy rain every day. But if you get 3 drops on your windshield, technically the weatherman calls that a success.
Yeah.
whoever posted that picture of the 2 hurricanes that we found out was from 2020 on Facebook a week or 2 ago, that guy can go eat glass and stomp his toe too.
Man,
come
dude,
on, man.
That created a shitstorm. I mean, it's crazy.
It did.
That thing was shared like something like 11,000 times.
Oh, come on, man. But that goes to show you that stuff sells. That a little panic always gets people going.
Yeah. Yep, it sells water, propane, and charcoal, and whatever the hell else.
And
batteries.
Well, it came out the day before they said that the Gulf is as hot as it's ever been in history.
Yeah. It's and local news. I saw something the other day, just to get off on a quick little tangent here. Local news ratings like 6 years ago, not even that long ago, were like 10s and 11s. That doesn't mean anything to a lot of people, but it'll mean something when I say this. Now they're like 0.5 and 0.6. Like local TV, because they bank on the weather. They bank on the weather. So listen to us. We'll give you Scott's our
Look
resident
at
expert.
You see Justin's comment on there, what he put on the no, but one more down.
One more down. Panic sells almost as good as boobs. Okay. I'm not going to argue that. I mean, no errors found. No lies detected, as they say.
Unburdened from the burden that has been.
Wow, that's pretty deep.
Huh?
That's really, really deep. I told you I could see it on his face. Caleb's a little frisky today, man.
You just said boobs and made me think of Kamala.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Hey, one more thing here, and then we'll get into some other topics. Gotten a lot of questions on the old DM and on messages on Facebook and Instagram about the feeding frenzy presented by On Point Roofing. So I'm going to answer a couple of questions that we got for the whole class here. Somebody said, how much are the raffle tickets for the boat? By the way, if you didn't know this already, it's going to be September 21st, and that is a 2024 21-foot Commander Freedom Boats, donated by Chet Morampudi from Freedom Boats, with a coastline trailer, a power pole, and a 150 Suzuki. Those are $50. So a $50 ticket could get you, what is that, $65,000, $70,000 boat? Something like that, I would guess, in that neighborhood. We're also kicking around, thanks to Hughes Andry from Shimano and Sportco Marketing. Dude gave us 9 rods. He gave us 9 Shimano rods, just like wants to be part of the frenzy. And I'm kind of kicking around, rather than put those in some of the silent auction things, I might just raffle away 3 rods an hour. It goes from 3 to 7. So in the 3 o'clock hour, 4 o'clock hour, and 5 o'clock hour, and then we'll go with all the other stuff, live auction and silent auction in the 6 o'clock hour. How does that grab everybody? And I think that'd be like $5. $5 ticket. You get $130 rod.
You the boss, man. You make the rules.
Yeah, this thing's about to kill me, man. I've been working on it pretty much every day for the last month.
One thing that I've learned about John is he tends to over prepare. Hey, so did everybody get their fishing license yet?
Always. But you know what that means?
I got my license today.
Attaboy. See, I'm proud of you.
I haven't got my fishing license yet, but I got my.
Oh, well, not quite as proud of you. Caleb?
No,
Caleb doesn't even have his captain's license yet. So
I went and picked mine up the other day. Yes,
look at that. See. Yeah, I tend to over prepare, but hey, man, that's how we got here. Here with 375 people RSVP'd, and the podcast with 500,000 downloads, and the great captains doing what you guys do.
I thought
you're welcome. You're welcome, guys.
Like, we would not be having this conversation without you.
Without me over preparing for everything. A couple of other questions. Are those raffle tickets for the boat going to be online? Yes, they're going to be online. As soon as I get that link from Chet, I will post it, which would lead me to believe you need not be present to win. But of course, we want you present. Another question I got. Hey, have you guys sent out the confirmation emails? Yes, they've I think all or almost all have been sent out. You're going to get one email that says you were in the first 200. We got your meal. And you're going to get, and then there's another group. You're going to get an email that says, and this is all courtesy of Jean Crush from Texas Boys Outdoors, by the way. Shout out to her. Another email that says, we got your RSVP. You're not among the 200, but it's a mere $15 to get in for all the entertainment and the food and the buffet. We got the buffet all taken care of. There's going to be plenty of food, plenty of tea and water, all that stuff. And then the last thing, Shout out to the Aransas Pass Chamber of Commerce and specifically Carrie Scruggs, Gene's better half. They're going to be a part of it. How about that? We're officially Chamber of Commerce people. They're going to be a part of it, going to help us with some volunteers. I think we're going to get some tables and chairs out of the deal. So everybody's getting in line. It's going to be a fantastic event. And then one more thing that I'm going to post on the group page. The entrance to the Feeding Frenzy is not going to be through the little breezeway where Coasters is, like you're going into the restaurant. It's going to be on the street gate on Huff Street. I think that's called Huff Street, right, Dean? Right there. I think it's Huff Street.
I've driven down that road my whole life, and I can not tell you what the name of it is.
See, this is why I over-prepare. I actually did the Google search. At Huff Street, the outside gate on the street side. So we'll get you that on the group page as well. All right, so let's get into some fishing topics. Let's get into what everybody likes to do and talk about. And this was one that we got directly from a listener. I don't know if you guys got it. But he was basically saying, I see you guys talking about these reels, want to support, Shimano and some of the other companies that do great stuff with the podcast. I know Ooze is going to donate some stuff to the Feeding Frenzy and all that. Want to support you guys, but I go fishing about once a month. And Scott, I'm going to talk with you on this because you've been in the industry on that side. He says, I'm an average fisherman. I love the fish, but I'm an average fisherman. Is the most expensive reel what I should really be looking for? Is it that big of a difference, or does it really matter to how you fish?
If you're just going to occasionally fish, figure out what your budget is. If you're going into Shimano, they have stair steps in their pricing. It's always been that way. On spinning reels, it's about $20 a step. And each step up gets you more bearings, more metal in the reels, more little features. But even the lower end reels now have the features that used to be in the top end reels. So it rains down. As they get new stuff for the high end reels, then everything trickles down to the lower end reels. So if you buy a lower end Shimano now, it's the equivalent of a high end from 5-10 years ago.
I think that's what he's wondering.
Yeah. I mean, it's got a little more plastic in it. It doesn't have as much metal. Maybe the gears aren't made of the same strength metal as the high end ones. But for our average fishing, no, you don't need the high end reels. They're smoother. They're nicer. They're great. They'll last you forever. But really, if you're going once a weekend and you're catching trout and reds, that $99 reel is going to be just fine. You don't need the $300 or $400 reel.
Caleb, go ahead, Scott.
I mean, the reel manufacturers want you to have those, of course, but and for the guys who are really into it and you're going to use it a lot, start thinking about it in terms of, okay, I bought a $300 reel, but it lasted me 4, 5, 6 years versus buying a $50 reel that lasts one season.
Right, if you're doing it a lot. And Caleb, that's what I was going to be the follow-up with you. We've all had the quote, air quote, less expensive or cheaper reels, whatever you want to call them. To me, it's all about cleaning and taking care of them, man. I mean, if you're only going to fish once a month, you got to do that even more anyway, because they'll lock up on you.
Allegedly. Just slap them a couple times. No, you're paying for maybe feels a little bit better in your hand. Maybe it's a little bit lighter. I mean, Scott's busted ass old Tundra still drive you down to Port O'Connor, but he got tired of the way of squeaking and got him a Ford like a real boy.
Oh boy, here we go.
A luge. Pat uses some sort of luge that he pays like $120 for, and he swears by it. He loves it.
The SLF, I think, is what it's called. I got a couple of those. Yeah.
Yeah, Pat loves it. I use the baits. It costs more money, but it's really comfortable in my hand. It's really smooth. And like Scott said, little pieces, parts in it, or maybe made of some better stuff, or it'll last a little bit longer. Just waders, wading boots, all that kind of stuff. You can buy cheaper things, but if you're buying one every 2 years versus one every 4 or 5 years, is it actually cheaper? That'd probably be the top point of the entire conversation.
Gene?
Well, the one thing that wasn't mentioned in that on the higher end reels is the balance, especially with spinners. I mean, when they spin, they're absolutely balanced, they're smooth, and yeah, I tell people, if you want to go for the high end stuff, man, there's birthdays and Christmas and Father's Day and stuff like that. You beat the family down to go buy it for you.
What a great strategy.
This is what I really want. I've been putting up with y'all all year long, and today's my day. Buy me a reel. But agree with what those guys said. Middle of the road is going to get you the same quality, or not the same quality, but a lot of the same components that are in the higher end stuff. When you talk about bearings and things like that, and they'll last a little longer. But it comes down to abuse, how you treat them, how you maintain them. Mine have a very short lifespan.
I wonder why. I wonder why.
Back in the day, we had a Chronarch, we had the Corrado, and then we had the Siticas. Those were the three main bait casting reels from Shimano, and I couldn't afford Chronarchs. Yeah, I just didn't want to spend that money, so I did Corrados. Corrados were great. The Siticas you could buy for like $79 back then. I think a Chronarch was like $120. And so for all my bait fishing and things where I was, wading around and fishing from the boat, I used those Corrados. But when we did the surf fishing, we knew we were going to get drenched. We knew our reel was going to take a beating. So we'd go buy Siticas and we'd use them for one season, and they get grindy like a salt and pepper shake. And so at the end of the season, you just toss that one and got you a new one.
Yeah.
And so we kind of considered those to be, they were just throwaways. You didn't replace the bearings. You didn't do anything with them. You oiled them up a little bit and made them get through the season.
And on the subject of the bait casters, the SLX, which is relatively new, it's in between. It kind of replaced the Sitica line. And I tell you what, man, I have SLXs, and the SLX has evolved where they have the external fine tuning on them. That has taken over my fleet of bait casters. They come in like the 129 range, I believe, is about where they're at, and ultra lightweight, fits in the palm of your hand, same size as the Corrado, same size frame, and for the price, it's an amazing reel and has all of the same tuning ability as all of the higher end stuff. So, I mean, you can get as crazy as you want, man. I mean, fishermen love to buy stuff. They are not scared to spend money. But, get one of each. That's what I say. Get two of each.
The industry is hyper focused on baitcaster reels and made them all pretty dang good. But Parkoff raises a point there where you're going to see a big difference in money as spinners. A cheap spinner sucks, and there's no other way around it. It just sucks. Don't do it. Spend $200 minimum. That's my take on the matter.
No, this is good stuff. It's helping all our listeners. What are you laughing at, Scott?
Because his wife throws like an $800 spinner.
You can get away with less than 200 on the spinners. Caleb is on the cough medicine. He's a little
Nope. I took a 5-year-old and a 6-year-old and a 7-year-old all being the same kid fishing tournaments for 3 years. Any chink in that sucker's armor is 10 minutes of him going, Dad, I don't know what happened. because the bevel on the spool sucked, or the handle backed out, or blah, blah, blah.
If you read the fine print on the box, it says you must be 14 years or older to have this spinning reel.
Yeah, exactly. Oh man, well that's good. See there, that's
if you want to go real high end, you can get you a Stella like Camille, and then you're kicking it.
Yeah. Well,
I've never had to
past. I just keep out faster when I get to the Stella's end of the case. I pick up my pace, and
Just
if
keep
I had
walking.
Scott Knowles money, I'd throw mine away. I tell you, I would burn it in the campfire.
I got Scott's money now.
Well, it helps. It helps to know Hughes. That doesn't hurt, you know.
Didn't help me at all.
Yeah, Hugh's been ghosting me, man. I've been trying to call him. I don't know. I must have said something a couple podcasts back that got me on.
Hughes has no complaints after the last 8 minutes of this discussion.
Nah, Hughes is a cool dude, man. He's been around for many years.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk technical details on reels, that dude will confuse you. He will use words that beyond my ability, but when it comes to the manufacturing and the evolution, there is nobody better than him if you want to get scientific on those things.
I got to go to his house and go in his office and play the grab game once, and that was fun.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. The grab game
is he doesn't answer your calls anymore.
That's a good you grab too much. You grab too much.
What's the line on Rooster Cogburn? Fill your hands, you son of a bitch. That's what I heard in my head.
That's exactly right. Well, good deal. All right. So see, that was very helpful. I think this next one is another topic we haven't really discussed. Scott, I put a little twist on what you sent me, because I think it applies to a bunch of different fish that people are targeting, especially this time of year. You were talking about knowing how to handle tarpon. Let's take that a little further, because this summertime, a lot of people looking at sharks out there, not just from the surf. I mean, a lot of people are targeting sharks. Kingfish, Dean, that's where you're going to come in, properly targeting kingfish, because they're out and about. Well, last I heard, I haven't caught any of this summer yet. But let's start with tarpon on you, Scott, because I think I saw the same picture that you saw, and I kind of did a Scott Knoll, little shake your head. Just a little Scott Knoll, lower your head and shake it a little bit. But what'd you see? What are you saying?
It just hurt my feelings to see tarpon dragged over the gunnels. Like, it happens every year. Guys get in there. There's one in particular right now that's bugging me a little bit. He should know better. But they're gaffing them through the lip with big old gaff, which that's debatable. Some of the Florida guys say that that's the best way to handle them, because you can control them better next to the boat and they don't thrash around so much. That's fine. You can put a hole in their lip. That's fine. I prefer to grab them by hand with a gloved hand. But the dragging them up and dragging them over the gunnel and holding them straight up and down, I'm talking the 5, 6, 7 foot fish. These big tarpon. They're dragging them into the boat. Scales are all over the place. Slime's all over the place. They're beating themselves up. They get all bloodied up. What really got me going on it was that fellow was fishing near me the other day, and then I was on the end of the jetties with a couple customers, and this fish was swimming by, and it was just finning under the surface, just barely moving. And it was a big tarpon, and it just went by us, and it was beat all to hell.
It wasn't going to make it.
It was obviously beat up, and we threw at it because we saw a tarpon. Well, it just flat ignored everything. It was just barely going along and kind of laying over on its side a little bit. That fish probably died, more than likely, if I had to guess. Grab them by the lip, hold them in the water, get your pictures while they're still in the water. Any of them that are over, 3.5 feet or so, just do that. The smaller ones, I grab those by the lip, support them under their belly, hand them to a customer real quick, have somebody ready to take a shot. They get the picture. I grab it back. I put it back in the water, hold it in the water, keep the boat in motion. If you're not in an area with current, like between the jetties, you don't have to do that. You can just hold them. You got enough current. Yeah. But if you're out on the beachfront, hold them down in the water, keep the boat moving forward, and they'll let you know when they're ready to go. They'll pull away from you. If they do act a little goofy and they kind of act a little sluggish, grab them by the wrist of the tail and just reach down there and grab them. That usually spurs them on, man. I think it's just their natural reaction to something grabbing them from behind like that. They take off. But Florida does it they have the laws over there. You can't take tarpon out of the water.
Okay.
If it's over 40 inches, you can't take it out of the water. I'm talking with some folks now, some CCA folks, and they're kind of guiding me towards how to get this possibly in the works for Texas. I'd like to see it. So look for that coming for too long, that I'm going to start working on that. I'm going to need some signatures on a petition to get it before the commissioner's court, and see if maybe we can get something similar done over here to protect these tarpon a little bit better. Those big tarpon, they're 40, 50 years old. We don't need to be killing them. So that's my dime's worth.
There goes Scott getting more laws and regulations. While
that's.
I'll
I was
take
going
the
to let that slide, but
I
since Caleb brought it up,
I can't hardly even turn on this damn show without Noel trying to put more laws and regulations on it.
I think we all know better than that.
Hey, Scott, Curtis Liker came up with a hands-free release device. He was telling me about it.
I saw that.
Those
Just tie your knots real crappy.
Yeah, most people call that device a knot, but his is a hands-free release device.
It gets a little costly on lures, but other than that, it's all right.
Yeah, I saw that one too. But so and that's the thing, Dean. I'm gonna turn to you with the kingfish here, because most people are like, you know what? I've never caught a tarpon. I hear Scott talking about it on the podcast. I'm gonna go do it, or I'm gonna book with Scott, or whatever it is. And you have to know what you're doing. Now, kingfish is a different thing. A lot of people will gaff them, but you don't have to. Just make sure they're tired, right? Make sure you work pretty good.
And it's hard to get a green kingfish to the boat, because they and if you do, it will kill you. It will. It is an
that's a word of warning right there. Make sure they're not green, because they will kill you.
It's an aggressive creature, and its face is full of razor blades, and they thrash at this violent pace. The thing about kingfish is they fight to the death, man. I mean, they literally burn themselves out. They don't release well. They really don't. But if you are going to release a kingfish, when you fight that thing, you get it next to the boat. You have your pliers in your hand. I grab them by the tail with some good gloves is my preference. Get the hook out as quickly as possible, which not an easy task. I mean, they will slice you to the bone. Their mouth has razor blades that are pointing in every direction, and they will hurt you bad. They also have fins that will cut you. The fins, the little knobs on the tail. If you grab that thing without really good gloves and it slides through your hand, you're going to see the bones of your fingers poking out. But they're hard to release.
You realize we're trying to get people to release them, right?
Hey, don't go out there half stepping. They will hurt you, man. Don't go out there without good gloves, some badass pliers, and those are the bare necessities. I like a little light fighting belt. I mean, even for light tackle, you want to have a decent fighting belt for those things. I mean, they are savage. But if you're gonna gaff anything, I mean, you better plan on putting it in the cooler, because it's not gonna release well with a big bloody hole in the side of it.
And they're fun when you can release them.
Kingfish,
look at that.
There's two 7-year-olds just taking their life in their hands that they caught that sucker without a fighting belt.
Yeah. And with a 5-year-old spinning reel that rattled.
I would highly recommend it. Go ahead, Scott.
I grab them by that wrist of the tail with a glove. If they're not huge ones, you can lift them straight up out of the water and hang them straight up and down, and they won't hardly twist around or do anything.
They kind of freeze.
Pretty much hang. Yeah, they pretty much freeze, and then you can get the hook out pretty good. And to release them, just throw them back, shoot them back into the water head first, and just let them go that way. And there's no holding them and letting them swim around and do all that. They'll start thrashing and carrying on.
You kind of spear the water with them, is what I've done. You just kind of spear the water with them, and you'd be surprised. I've never lost one that I know of.
Yeah, they take off pretty good.
All right, Caleb.
If you want to post, if you want to post a trout video, you hanging by a lip and get a weight, that goes really damn well.
Yeah.
Video gets 200,000 views and 500 comments, but I started getting an ulcer listening to some of the opinions of the experts out there on what a trout can and can't survive.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they'd hate to know that we took a little baseball bat and bonked that sumbitch so he'd lay real still to get a measurement.
That's what you did to that kingfish. You ain't fooling nobody.
Yeah.
You beat that thing with a ball bat before those two little kids held it up.
I hit the kids a couple of times before they caught their kingfish.
That too. A lot of people out there trying to catch sharks. Sometimes you catch them by accident when you're out where we like to fish near shore and on the jetties and stuff. Anything special there that our listeners need to know?
Man, there's something real special that you need to release shark. It's called a knife.
Right there with releasing stingrays.
Come on.
Yes.
Man. Now the smaller sharks up to about, I don't know.
Yes.
3.5 feet. You just grab them in the back, right?
No, you get as much line back on your reel as you want, and then you cut the rest.
That 1-footer will jack you up too.
Yeah, you will.
Yeah, don't be grabbing a shark by the tail. Yeah, that wrist of the tail thing does not work on sharks. They can spin around and bite themselves on the tail.
And when you put a shark in the boat, their fins become feet. They will run around the boat on those fins, and they will go from the back of the boat to the front of the boat to the other side of the boat. They'll climb up the console as well as if they are in the water.
I've never heard it put like that.
I have. They swim on dry land.
Their fins
they're land sharks.
No. They run around. They will chase your ass around the boat.
Yeah.
Right there at frog legs jumping out of the skillet. It's the same phenomenon.
Same thing.
On sharks, I got my gloves on. I get the hold of the leader, get the leader up tight, and little side cutters, and sacrifice the hook.
Yeah, we'll always sacrifice the hook.
Yeah,
you can grab them like you grab your son in church, like to tell him to not fidget. You grab him right behind the neck. That's what I've told my kid. Just grab him behind the neck and squeeze like your kid's fidgeting around.
You got hands like Elijah one. Yeah,
I do it all the time.
You ain't catching big sharks then.
I said up to about 3.5 feet, three. Yeah, just go. And
my mom used to grab me by the ear and drag me out of church, but I don't know if sharks have ears.
They got feet.
They got fin feet.
They got feet. Shit, I guess. Throw one in the boat and watch what happens.
Yeah. Oh no, I've seen it. I just never have quite heard it put like that.
You see everybody going for the highest spot in the boat real fast.
Yeah.
I just posted my gar releasing technique on Bite Me on Facebook. So you have to interact with the socials to find out the secrets.
Yeah.
Hey, I posted the picture about the panicking the public as we were speaking as well. So if you want to see how socially active we are, we post while we do the podcast.
That's good right there. That's good stuff. All right, so another question here regarding sharks, and I'll just read it.
Scott's looking at it right now. Yeah, I see the reflection in his glasses.
Yeah, real good. I'm looking at weather.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that. Food for thought for the podcast. It says a listener went wading last weekend. Port O'Connor had sharks show up everywhere. We went within close proximity. Everywhere we went within close proximity. All around 5 to 7 feet long. He says one of our guys had to bat one away with his rod as it was coming directly for him. He was fishing plastics, so no bait, nothing on the stringer. How do you guys handle that other than how I would handle it? And that would be, you know what? I don't need them that bad. I don't need those fish that bad if there's that many sharks coming around me. But what would you do, Caleb?
Man, y'all all froze up on me for a second. You're going to have to edit this part out.
All right, I will edit this part out. We're talking about sharks and what would you do when they're coming around. Scott, you're up.
I just stay in the boat, pretty much. I mean, I got a poling skiff for a reason.
That's what I just said.
I don't want to play with it. That's just not fun. But when I did wade, I made damn sure my stringer was a quick release. And if they wanted that stringer more than me, they could have it. You can do all that hitting them with the end of your rod or popping the water with the end. You know what that does? It creates a stir and a splash, and that attracts more sharks.
Yeah.
There's a new thing. I haven't tried it. I've heard good things about it. That's a shark repellent deal.
They have it at Anglers Anonymous. It's really cool.
To get it, but from what I've heard about it, and I've heard it from some pretty reliable people, that it does actually work. It keeps the sharks away from them. So maybe look into something like that. It's some magnetic deal, or I don't know.
Supposed to work on stingrays and sharks, and you just hang it from your belt, from whatever belt you're wearing, and apparently it does work. I haven't used it, but I also feel like they wouldn't have it at Anglers Anonymous if it wasn't good. I mean, we know what they do over there. So
they need to give me one and let me hang it off the side of my boat on the beachfront and see if the sharks still come around, because I get sharks around my boat every day.
Yeah.
You should hang it around your neck and jump in there with them and see what happens.
That would be a better test.
That would be yes, better. And the thing about sharks, I mean, I watch Shark Week like everybody else, and we're supposedly not on their menu, but when I don't want to be a statistic either, man. I don't want to be the exception to that rule.
I always like when we see like some kid or some person, I shouldn't say kid, got like whatever, nipped by a shark in the leg. And you all see the same thing in the stories. Sharks normally don't attack people. Well, but there's one of these stories every week. It's like every week.
Tell that to the dude with his leg missing.
The most dangerous part of it when we're fishing out of the boat is landing the fish. I always look around, like land jacks especially. I don't know what it is. They love to eat a jack. And as I'm landing a jack, I'm scanning the water real hard before I ever reach down there and grab it up. I've had more than one bull shark swim out from under the boat as I'm grabbing jacks.
Yeah.
And that's the most dangerous time. He goes for that jack. He don't care what else he gets. If my hand's in the way, that's so be it. So I'm always watching real close for that. There was a guide out of Florida that got bit landing a snook. Was it 2 years ago? And he got messed up pretty bad. It got a hold of him and did the shark roll thing and really messed his hand up pretty bad.
No, I'm with you. I'm very aware of that whenever I'm doing that, because it's like you don't see them until they're on you. You don't see them until they're right there. That's why. So I think who was it? John was asking what would be worse, dolphin or shark? Shark. Shark when you're releasing fish. Absolutely.
Well, when you're, as far as for the trout, that's what he was asking. Which one's worse about eating the trout? Dolphins.
Well, that is true.
100%. You can't get a trout away from a dolphin if they're hanging out. You can't get a ladyfish away from them either. But, and when they've been showing up here lately at the jetties, we're catching a lot of ladyfish mixed in with our little tarpon. And I know the dolphins are there for the ladyfish. As soon as those things show up, the tarpon move off. They'll move down the jetties somewhere else. So I've had them coming up to my boat several times here recently, and I had to move.
Yeah. All right. So this is a Caleb special, I feel, because he's been all about trying to get. We all have, but more in a tournament sense, trying to get redfish to bite when they're not really hitting anything. So Caleb, I'm gonna start with you. He called it attention getters for redfish. I saw many reds active along edges of tall shoreline grass. I'd be curious to know what suggestions you guys have on what to throw to get their attention. And he did what we've all done. He tried the weedless, the plastic, top water, gold spoon, etc. Is there such a thing, or is this just you just keep throwing until you figure it out as a good attention getter? Like either they'll bite that or they ain't biting. When you're looking at redfish.
Me and Robert Jones throw spare change out of our pocket into the water as an offering to the redfish gods.
That's not a bad idea.
He threw a $20 bill in there one time. It was going that kind of bad.
Well, that is a bad idea.
That one is a bad
idea. That one I'm not going to sign off on.
I watched the dude throw $100 bill off the back of the boat offshore one day. I thought that was the stupidest fucking thing I ever seen in my life.
Why did he do that? For the same reason?
Yeah, he's trying to buy a bite.
Man, I'd have done it for 50.
In Costa Rica. Oh, you remember in Costa Rica, the deckhand, he poured a beer over the side. And that made more sense than throwing money in the water.
It did.
We had a shitload of beer on that boat. That didn't make a difference.
It did.
When I was in high school, we found out if you drank Zima and peed off the Nueces River Bridge, it'd make the white bass bite.
Zima? That's an old school pool right there.
We didn't have much. We didn't have much to choose from in the test pool because that's the only thing we can get that guy at the Texaco to buy us. But
man, dude, I get mad when a lure breaks off, and that only costs me like $8.
Yeah, dude's throwing a 20 and 100 in the water. So is there no magic bait that if they're not biting this, they ain't biting nothing?
If they won't bite a gulp shrimp, they ain't biting nothing.
Good answer.
Gulp
if the water's a little off color, I'd try spinnerbait.
Yeah, spinnerbait, wake bait, chatterbait. We use chatterbaits a bit. But you already said he used he hasn't used anything subsurface that rattled. So spinnerbait, chatterbait, wake bait. Against the grass, it'd be dang hard to use a wake bait because by the time you got it going, it'd be off the grass.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of the gulp. That's a good one. If you really just like, we got to get some kind of bite here.
And it's funny it's funny you would mention that because I did not read the rundown today, and
you're forgiven.
I got a text earlier from guy that I fished with, and he was asking me kind of the similar question. Man, he has schools of reds that were running up and down the shoreline. And like he was they wanted to be there, like they were just staying there, and he could not get them to bite. And that's what I was asking him. I was like, what'd you throw? I mean, he went down the list, and some days they just have other things on their mind. I mean, we've all seen that happen where, I mean, you could bump them in the nose, you could throw everything you want, and they just, I mean, they got whatever's going on in their BB brain. It's just not eating at that point.
We put a gulp on a spinnerbait way more than once.
Really?
Yeah.
I put a spinnerbait on a topwater with a gulp on it.
Well, I was there for that. That just because I'm kicking your ass, you're getting desperate and freaking out.
I just can't believe that John didn't go with popping cork.
No. I was waiting. It was in the barrel. I was waiting for y'all to finish, and this is what I was going to say, Scott.
Like the big fireworks.
Y'all are going to make me say popping cork, aren't you? Y'all are going to make me say popping cork. I had it in the barrel. I was waiting for y'all to finish, and the answer is yes, popping cork. I've had so many people, and I've said this too, and nobody believes it. I throw popping cork maybe 10-15% of the time, but I always throw it because I just think it's an attention getter, especially in situations like what we're talking about here. But everybody does it, and no one admits to it because they're not man enough to. They're not comfortable enough in their manness to admit that they throw a popping cork like I am.
Are we just a woke one today?
I'm surprised Dean didn't say cut mullet, but
I put cut mullet on a gulp, on a spinner, on a topwater, under a popping cork.
I can't believe it didn't work. I just can't believe it didn't work. All right, so now here's a really good one. I think we can dig in here before we get to what Scott do, what Kayla do, what would Dean do. I thought this was a great question because when I read it, I'm like, I know my guys here, and I know they're not this jaded. Maybe a little jaded, but not this jaded. Because the question is about, do you guys still love basically, I'm paraphrasing. Do you guys still love all the other things beside fishing? And I'm going to read it to you so you can get a good feel for it. Everyone addicted to fishing should admit that catching fish keeps us coming back to the water. But sometimes that can't be had, or that can be hard, I should say. I've realized that there's much more to being on the water that keeps me going back, seeing a juvenile. He gave some examples, seeing a juvenile dolphin jumping out of the water, seeing a fever of rays cruising right past you on your boat, on the grass flats, an old sea turtle covered in barnacles coming up to take a breath. And he said, for me, those are the things that make the hard days worth it. And I wondered if very experienced guys like the captains here still draw a lot of joy from those kinds of things. I'm going to go ahead and answer for you and then get y'all's answers. The answer is yes. I think like people who are on the water as much as I am, and certainly as much as you guys are, you can't just be all about the fishing and be out on the water for as many years as you've been. Scott, I mean, I know I'm answering for you, but that's got to be your answer. I mean, that's what keeps me going. I'll pull, little with my wife. I'll pull little seahorses out of the water for 20 minutes, just to watch them, or whatever. But go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if you're that jaded that the only joy you get out of it's the catching, then you're in the wrong business. If you get that way, take some kids fishing and watch the kids react to everything.
Good point.
One of the things I did with my girls when they were growing up, reach out there and grab a big old wad of that sargassum as it floats by and shake it out on the deck, and all kind of cool little creatures fall out of it, and they're all excited about it. Or as my oldest called it, sarcasm weed.
Yeah.
But yeah, I had a couple of kids out the other day, and the little girl, she was out there we were out there 6-7 hours. She never picked a rod up. And all she did was look at turtles. She named all the turtles. We had a pelican that was swimming right up to the boat, eating right off the side of the boat, eating the minnows that were in the shadows of the boat. Just all the cool little things that happen out there. I get into it. That's part of why I like the beachfront so much, is there's just all kind of cool things that are going on. Spinner sharks are jumping. The dolphins, I've watched them surf, and they're having fun. They're enjoying themselves in the surf. All that stuff is cool to me, and just being out there.
And Caleb, you've been on the tournament circuit, which that's hard to disconnect. Like tournament circuit, you're not having fun watching dolphins, but it's hard to reconnect, I should say, when you're just out there with clients and just enjoying the reason that you really are out there,
I'm out there for the ground, baby.
Yeah, for the bikinis.
Get that picture. No, Instagram, John. Instagram. I guess the cool thing now is the TikTok. When the fishing's slow, I can still have great fun making fun of everybody else that's on the boat. That's kind of my go-to. They seem to enjoy it. I think they enjoy it.
I can confirm that.
No, I mean, I like the camaraderie is what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Yeah, I can confirm that.
I also like to text you and tell you how many fish we're catching, whether we're catching any or not.
You did that very recently. I was like, what the hell is going on here? It's like, why is this happening to me?
Smoking them.
I'll take a sunrise picture, and then I'll wait until 10 o'clock to send it.
Oh yeah, that's when I go on the air.
As soon as I know he's on the air, that's when I send it.
And what do I usually text back? You son of a bitch. Well, that's a good way. And Dean, I'm gonna get to you next, but that's a good way to explain what I do. And a lot of times I'm out on that water and I ain't catching squat. I am as happy as can be. Sometimes I'll just put the power pole down and just sit there, and I'll kind of envision in my mind, I ain't in Houston traffic. I am right here in the middle of whatever bay I'm on, and life is good. But Dean, I know you probably more than any of us, you're out there for just all the ambiance,
how it goes for me, that alarm clock goes off at 4:30, and it's like, man, this sucks. Why did I do this? And then you drag your ass, you go drag all them poles, you drag all that shit to the boat, you get all that shit ready. And when I hit the corner and I'm looking at that sunrise coming up, I don't give a rat's ass about any of it. People are pulling out their cameras, man. They're taking pictures, with the sun coming up. And then I realize I ain't got a damn thing to do for the rest of the day but float around on this boat and look for fish. And then none of that getting up at 4:30 matters anymore. So
I put a 10-minute video on Facebook of what happens when me and Dean get bored, and it's some pretty deep conversation.
Yeah. I mean, and once you get out there, I mean, you put all that crap in the world behind you, and you got nothing to think about but floating around and looking at birds and fish and going from place to place, even when it sucks, man. Part of the fun is, what are we going to do next? What can we go see, man? Let's go look at something. You go to spots that you haven't been in a long time. It's just exploring, and then it kind of sucks when it's over and you got to go back home, and then you got to drag all that shit out of the boat. And you got to drag it all back to the house. You got to put it all back where it came from. And then you got to go to sleep for 2 hours on the floor.
I think what we've determined here is Dean needs a butler. he needs to just show up on the boat.
Like, my day, it's an emotional roller coaster for me, man.
Your life is
the lowest lows and the highest highs, all in about 10 hours.
Let me ask you. Go ahead.
From what used to have Kelly out there to wash his stuff out. And he was a much happier guy when he had Kelly Watson there.
He needs a butler.
Oh, shit. I vaguely remember that year that Kelly Watson lived with me.
Mm-hmm. See, from everything Dean just said, when I get a call from somebody like, hey, bro, your boat's parked on the side of the road in Matagorda and the GPS is still on it and all the rods are still in it. And I'm like, yeah, I'm aware. If it's gone, it's just gone. I'm not taking that crap out again. I'd have to put it back in the morning. Ain't happening.
Let me ask you guys this, though, because it had me thinking when Dean was talking about getting up at 4 and all that stuff. We've established we all like everything about being out of the water. What's your favorite part? What's your, like, if you had to like parse it out, what's your favorite part of the day? Because mine's kind of weird, and I'll say mine last. What's your favorite part of the whole day, Caleb?
I enjoy the hunt. I enjoy the looking around. I can run 100 miles of beachfront, and as long as I can kind of see in the water, I'm just always feel like I'm about to see that one little thing that sets me off to a school of fish, or even in the back lakes. I don't particularly enjoy the bays; they're not my friend. But the back lakes, rolling around until I finally push that group or something. I like the hunt much more than all the rest of it. My favorite part is probably catching the damn fish, John. But the one I get to enjoy the most is the hunt.
Scott?
Yeah, for me, it's when the customer hooks up and they turn around and look at you with a big grin because you put them on fish that they didn't see.
Mm-hmm.
Like pulling, I got guys on the front, they don't see the fish. They start to make a cast. I'll say, no, 3 feet right of that. 3 feet right, a little bit further, and they make the cast. They strip, with the fly, and they're doing exactly what I'm telling them to, and they'll tell them pause. Okay, strip it one more time, and it eats. Invariably, I get the look over the shoulder with this look of amazement of how in the hell did that just happen? I never saw that fish, but you just the directing of the action is what's a lot of fun a lot of times.
Yeah, those are the days when Scott and I end up on the phone with each other. Like, man, I was on today. I was seeing those suckers. We've had these conversations. I was seeing those suckers at 50 yards. I had a guy on the boat one time, and he didn't see one. I'm telling him to cast. He casts at it 2 or 3 times, and he scares it, and it takes off, right? Yeah. And he had spent most of the morning telling me how he was going to get into tournament fishing, particularly the Goblins and Redfish series. And that fish had probably made it about 30 yards. As far as I could cast is how fast and he was clipping with the wake on him. And I grabbed my rod out of the holder and flipped it in front of that fish and caught it. And he had been going all morning about, yeah, I'm ready. This is exciting to me. And Scott said it looked over his shoulder at like, how did you see that? How did you do that? He looked over his shoulder at me and says, are you entering this tournament? I said, me and a bunch more just like me, bud.
Yes, I am. Dean, your favorite part. I know what's not your favorite part.
The favorite part is whenever somebody's got that big fish hooked up and I'm hanging over the side of the boat with my GoPro camera and I'm like half in the water and half out going for that picture, and they're looking at me like, are you going to net my fish? Or are we going to take pictures all day? That's a fun part. But the best part is really whenever they're holding that big fish and you're taking the picture and they got that crazy grin, happy look on their face. Because that's the moment when they're just thrilled, and you catch it and you send them home with a badass photo of the trip. And if you got a killer sunrise behind it, you can profile that fish all up. That's the juice for me, man. Everything about it is good, but getting them holding that fish with the rod, you pose it up in that pro mode with the lure hanging out and the rod in their arms and the fish. And when you can really set that up and make it happen, that's the ultimate for me.
I got two, but one of them is definitely like Caleb. He said the hunt. Mine, and I've said it on the podcast, is figuring it out. Like I'm sitting there and I'm like, I bet they're doing this, or this, they're going to be here, or the water's going to be doing this, or this is where they're going to be. And lo and behold, you go there and you're like, hey, got it on the first try. Got it on the first try. Now, it's few and far between when I'm making that turn out of the marina, and I'm like, I bet they're going to be right here doing this, and then you nail it. You're like, hey, okay. And then my second one, I said this is going to be a little weird. I like the end of the day when you're pulling in. Catch fish, don't catch fish. You've had a great day on the water. You're back safe. You know there's going to be a cold beer in your future. And you're pulling in the marina, and I just like that. I don't know what it is. It's like a piece, like you whether you caught fish or not, you're like, did it, done. This is awesome. So
I was
anyway,
really surprised that Dean didn't say tacos.
Tacos.
That was what I was waiting on, was Dean to say tacos were his
well, I
favorite
bring
part
them.
of the day.
I bring his tacos. So
Well, see, here's where me and Dean have a lot in common. I think we had more fun when the tacos got left at the house than we did when we actually had tacos.
No, we didn't.
No, we did not. And I wonder who left the tacos at the house. I wonder.
Right on the table. They were on the table when he got back.
Dean said the cat's probably sitting there eating them right now.
All right. Real quick here, we'll go around the horn and do what would Scott do, what would Caleb do, and what would Dean do, because I think they're all going to be relatively similar. So let's see what you guys think. Supposedly rain all week this week. Now, I have looked at, I'll be out there again, of course, this weekend. I have looked at the wind and such, but Scott, let's start with you. You're always the most prepared.
Oh, crap. Is that time already?
No offense. No offense, guys.
Well, what was the question?
Yeah, there we go. There we go.
Winds look pretty light throughout the whole week. They're kind of variable. Middle of the day is going to be pretty still and hot. Beachfront probably looking pretty good. I mean, they're 2.5s, 2 to 2.5s, but they're at 6-7 seconds. So they got some space between them. So it's not terrible. And as long as the wind's not blowing too hard and blowing the white caps on the top, I can see my tarpon. As far as the bays go, this little bit of cooler temperatures ought to help. All of my temperatures showing in the 80s this week for highs, whereas it's been closer to 100 every day. So that should help out with the cloud cover, a little bit of rain, put a little oxygen in the water. Should get the fish up shallow and stirred up, be my guess.
Yeah. Dean, I'm going to be looking at that NOAA page and the waves and the tides, because I got southwest wind, and that's at 7 o'clock. 8 o'clock is on. I'm just looking at Sunday, just as an example. Is
look, let me go ahead on.
Northwest.
Look, let me go ahead on and interrupt you. Not to be rude, but
that's okay.
Why would we entertain ourselves with that forecast?
This is true.
These storms. And if you have storms, they create their own wind. They create their own weather. I mean, you can have a storm to the north of you that's going to give you a north wind on short notice. Mm-hmm. And you're going to have one on the other side that's going to create a south wind. So you work around those things. Man, I mean, quite frustrating whenever I look at that. And if you really want to frustrate yourself, you turn on the TV news, because those dudes are selling the most drama that they can get, because they want you. They're still selling commercials, and they want you tuning in. So they're going to get as crazy as they want. But the one thing that's really going for us is we're way past the full moon now. Yeah. We may be past the third quarter. I'm not sure. Maybe coming up on full moon, but we got amazing tides right now, man. The tide is high like crazy in the morning, standing for not very long, and then running out for the duration of the day. So when you get cloudy weather and a big ass tide like that,
all right,
and the full moon ain't messing with you, that's good stuff.
Caleb, we're going to catch fish like crazy this weekend.
They're going to jumping in the boat.
Be jumping in the boat.
I'm going with what Scott said, with a little bit of what Dean said mixed in.
That's a great answer.
Which
right.
parts?
Well, all of them.
Yeah.
All of them. That's a great answer.
And sharks be jumping into boats and walking around.
Yeah, and then he's going to be hitting Gar with a baseball bat. So, all right, boys. Fun show as always. You guys that are listening, be sure to check the group page because I'm going to have maybe a little image of where the entrance is and all the other deals. If you haven't gotten your email, you will, confirming either RSVP or RSVP with food included. That's going to be happening for the Feeding Frenzy. And of course, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Caleb, you got anything? Look like you're still a little frisky over there.
I'll lay awake all night being frisky like this, John. Is nothing to be alarmed about.
Well, it is if I'm sleeping in your house.
I was just thinking that everybody that was panicking because the only thing we're giving away is a boat. I am in communications with Steve's people on getting an autographed picture for the grand prize.
Okay. So right above the boat.
Yeah, we haven't quite. Steve heard about this NIL crap, and it just made a real mess of being a Steve owner.
Yeah,
but we're trying to work through it.
All right.
So how does Steve?
Go ahead.
How does Steve autograph? Does he do like a paw print or something?
Print, baby. Paw print.
Sweet.
Yeah. And
I'm gonna bring extra money to bid on that.
Yeah, we're gonna have all kinds of stuff, and we'll post all the silent auction stuff as well. Captain Dean, Captain Scott, Captain Caleb, be sure to book them. I think you guys are probably going to have some dates here and there that people can find. Angler U, I think I said Anglers Anonymous last week, but I edited it out.
There you go.
Yeah, because that's what I do.
Angler U's Jenin, and the guest tomorrow night is Scott Knoll. He's been waiting 3 long weeks to be this guest.
Yeah, I'm sure he's been chomping at the bit to get back on.
I keep telling him on Mondays, hey, you want to be the guest this week? And then on Mondays, I get a text from Wayne or Mickey or somebody like, dude, this week's the only week I can do it. And I just like, I screw Scott over all the time. There's no, you're on, buddy.
Kick him to the curb. Kick him to the curb.
What's the chances of me jumping on tomorrow? You want to push Scott back to next week?
Hey, dude, now that I think about it, there's probably some good stuff we can hit this week, Dean.
That's right. Sorry, Scott. All right, boys. You guys have a great one.
Mill has something apparently.
Do you have it for air or off air?
For air.
Oh, bring it.
Jim Dolan Memorial Tournament, online, nationwide. Registration is open. So get on. You fish for 2 weeks. You post your fish on iAngler. There's a ton of raffle items out there right now, too. So if you're interested in helping us out, do a little competitive online fishing, now's the time to register.
There you go. And they register at?
They link on heroesonthewater.com, and I think we posted links on Bite Me in the Facebook group.
And if you download the iAngler app, you can find it on there. That's where I usually find it. And I actually won one of the raffle items last year. It's pretty cool.
Dean loves a raffle.
Dean heard raffle. He's all in.
This year we have an inflatable boat board.
All right.
In the raffle.
I need that.
No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't need that. All right, boys. Y'all have a good one. Thanks for listening. Don't forget next week. Don't forget to check the group page and to become a member on the Facebook group page. Just search Bite Me Fishing and you'll be good to go. Until then, we'll talk to you next week. Catch them up, and we will see you next time.
That's an inflatable boat board. I like inflatables aboard my boat.
Hey, chicks dig those.